Okay. Thank you, Christina, for the introduction. And I'd like to take the chance to thank Platform for bringing a lot of nice people together. Through the people I met in the Platform events, we have been doing very interesting stuff. The reason I'm mentioning it, it works very nicely with the team. And when we heard about the team, when we heard about the team, the New Together, it made a lot of sense. And then I really am a big supporter of how different disciplines might support each other and how different practices might support each other. Because when I look at architecture, what we see is like it's a big competition world. We are very much focused on competing, but overall, practice is losing a lot of opportunities in my understanding. So in that sense, I think it's a really nice event to be here together with Simona, Luca, and Christina, as always. And the presentation I put together is based on the Fitaş Passage, the Passage of the Fitaş, which is a renovation project originally, but everything we design kind of goes back and relates to what we have been trying to convey throughout the years. So it came out in the form of a book a couple of months ago called Geospaces. It is available in a lot of the locations and stuff. But beyond that, beyond being a book, it kind of is a compass showing us the way through the complexities of architecture. Because architecture, making a building is the maybe most complex thing humankind can, think of in today's world. You go through social complexities, economic complexities, and art. You have your art perspective and so on. So there's many things to manage. So I think we need compasses, at least in our case. So that's what Geospaces is for us. And up to today, we designed more than 6 million square meters of projects, more than 10 countries, 200 projects and so on. But obviously, very few of them got built, which is kind of the part of the practice, as I'm understanding after many years, starting my practice in 2011 in Istanbul. And we recently started working in Berlin, and we are working on a couple of projects in Los Angeles. So we had the opportunity to interact with a lot of different locations. And I think this puts us into a responsible position for what we are doing in the global scale in Earth. So we also try to understand what is going on and what is not really going on with our practice. Because I think we are encouraged to think that way, because when we look at the human history, human history's existence on Earth, it is a very tiny fraction of the whole existence of the humans, of the biological species. We are this red line at the end of this timeline, and we are already talking about how fragile our humankind is. Like Luca's editorial content in the New Together magazine, the Platform magazine's New Together episode, it talks about how fragile we are in this era. Through pandemic and other things, we understand it more and more often. And I think architecture plays an immensely significant role because if you look at it in the carbon emissions, I'm not talking about the sustainability point of view completely. I think a lot of the ideas around sustainability is really useful, and we need to focus on those. But beyond that, if you look at the carbon emissions the architecture is producing, is much larger than any other industry. And in correspondence, the only economy we generate is 15%. So we are generating 40 to maybe more percent of the carbon emissions for a very small amount of economy. And architects end up getting paid really, really small. So I think there's a huge problem going on with the whole practice working, the way the practice working, and I think it has to do some. Kind of modernization issues throughout the history, because when we look at it, when we look at architecture, like this incredible place, like all the Italian architecture history and ancient architecture and stuff, we tend to see it as a very cultural thing. But beyond that, there has been times that cities were underground. We kind of lived modifying the nature rather than distancing from the future. So I don't mean that we should go back, live in the caves and stuff, but I think in between we lost a huge gradient about how we might able to modify the nature to generate spaces that we can live. So we don't obviously resolve the whole problem, but this is what we are focusing on at the moment. And when we have the chances, we try to relate to this situation. One example is Villa Topos, where we try to save the conditioning, energy conditioning cost of the whole building, which is an immense amount of carbon emissions in comparison to the building's construction. And we basically do focus on geothermal energies, the mass positioning, underground temperatures, and so on, like all of the things that we all know. But if we are able to spend some time and invest some perspective in it, we are able to generate a lot of interesting situations. So this is, and beyond that, everything was very simple, like concrete. So we wanted to leave a lot of space for creativity, a lot of space for personal use in the spaces. We used air chimneys and stuff. That was the most challenging part. But beyond that, the places are very simplistic. So we try to leave space for the nature and so on. So this is how it looks at the end. And the main project that was invited for the competition, for the exhibition, sorry, was Fitaş, the Fitaş Passage, the Passage of the Fitaş. Together with this project, we were losing the building when we were invited for the project, and the client was wanting to demolish the whole thing. But we wanted to bring everything on the street was living, and anything else was not living in the street of Istiklal. And we wanted to bring the street through the building. So this way, we hope the building might come back to life. And we did a street going through the building, and then we did a small balcony that's public and so on. So it kind of brought back the building to life. And then we started working on the facade. So it was a phases project. So it is a renovation project, let's say, but it's done in phases. And this is how it looks at the end. We obviously wanted to articulate the interior spaces and exterior spaces in a special way. So we give viewpoints, vistas to special cases, and we kind of relate to the interior programs, interior functions, like the gay club, the offices, the movie theaters, the music market, the bookstores, and so on. So we try to combine all these strange functions in the same building, and we try to kind of bring a unified perception of the facade at the end. Interior spaces, these used to be a movie theater. So for the interior spaces, we do a lot of different events. It's big empty boxes, so we try to keep them alive as much as possible. There's a event program going on for forever. And maybe last project, even in the small scale, we always try to understand how we might connect with the nature from different perspectives. So we usually involve certain algorithmic strategies to understand what is going on actually with the nature. And and we try to relate to nature in that sense. So this was one of the projects we wanted to generate from zero, some kind of new nature. So this is why it is called new nature. It's a store design designed for WWF, the Worldwide Foundation, and it basically is small little new creatures around. And I'll skip this. And this is one exciting project we have been working more than 7 years. It has been the longest going on project. It is very important for us. We had the privilege to work with an Italian, amazing Italian creator throughout the projects, and it involved more than 40 different participants throughout this process. It's a very complex thing to make a museum. We understand it is not only designing the architecture, but it's from the politics to finances. It has a lot of layers. So this is from some under construction moment. There's obviously much more information. So looking at all these different projects, we understand even making the process of making architecture is something we can think about how we get together from scratch. So thank you.